Just ahead on ABC 6 News, first at 4, battling the blaze. What we are learning tonight about a massive fire at an auto lot and the latest efforts to clean up the mess. Plus, arrested for arson, East Providence police naming a suspect accused of setting fire to a home. And results are in how each Rhode Island school did on the RICAS test this year. Plus, tensions deepen while Israel and Gaza exchange blame. The aftermath tonight after an explosion at a hospital that killed hundreds of civilians.
This is Southern New England's trusted news source, ABC 6 News, first at 4.
Our top story at 4 o'clock. Crews have finally put out a massive fire in Tiverton that started early this morning at General Auto Recycling. Thanks so much for joining us at 4 o'clock. I'm Tiffany Murphy. More than a dozen local departments responding to the used car lot off of King Road. And right now, that is where we find Providence Now reporter Daniel Coates, who joins us live with the latest. Dan?
Well, Tiffany, we're about 14 hours removed from when that fire started this morning, and there's still a faint amount of smoke that's coming up from these burnt car parts that you can see behind me. Where that fire started, there's still a smell in the air of burnt tires as well, and residents in the area tell me that they woke up in the middle of the night to explosions they say sounded like gunshots and even fireworks. Now, the massive fire drew mutual aid from more than a dozen neighboring communities from Massachusetts and Rhode Island. We're told it started around 2:30 this morning, and the flames roared for roughly 6 hours while crews poured about 1,500 gallons of water a minute on the burning auto parts until it was finally put out fully early this afternoon. And luckily, Tiffany, no one was injured and no homes were damaged, but many residents off King Road were up all night watching and listening from afar.
Just in the moment, and it sounds exaggerating, but like end of the world moment where suddenly it's like, what is going on just in the middle of the night? Loud bangs, and we didn't know what it was at first. Was it gunshots or was it fireworks? And then we came outside just to see the smoke billowing over the trees and the flames. And
into the end of my road, and you see a massive orange plume of smoke and, black and white smoke, illuminated by orange fire on the ground. It's like, oh my.
And Tiverton's fire chief tells us that this cause of the fire is still under investigation. And tonight at 5, we'll have more from residents who woke up in the middle of the night with a chaotic scene outside their front doors. In Tiverton, I'm Daniel Coates, ABC 6 News.
Thanks for the update, Dan. Other local stories we're following on this Wednesday afternoon. East Providence police say they've arrested a 24-year-old from Rehoboth for arson. Now, this arrest comes after a structure fire on Austin Ave over the weekend. The homeowner told police they saw a man running from their yard minutes before that fire started. Police found this man on your screen, John Rego, near the house. Police learned he was the ex-boyfriend of someone that lived inside of that multifamily home. Rego later admitted to starting the blaze so he could get his ex-girlfriend's attention. He's been charged with arson and domestic arson as well, along with drug possession. Police investigating a deadly crash that happened overnight in Pawtucket. This was the scene on Pleasant Street around 1 o'clock. Police say a 65-year-old driver hit 2 telephone poles before being thrown from their vehicle. That man was pronounced dead at the scene. The driver's name has not yet been released. New at 4 o'clock, Norton police asking for your help to identify 2 armed robbery suspects. Norton PD says 2 men robbed Michelle's Corner store on West Main Street. They say they had large knives. It happened around 9 o'clock last night. The clerk told police the men demanded cash from the register before taking that money, along with cigarettes. Both men were wearing face masks. If you have any information, you are asked to contact Norton PD. Turning now to our continuing coverage of the war between Israel and Hamas. President Biden traveling to Israel today, meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, as well as victims and first responders of the Hamas terrorist attacks. The president pledging full support for Israel and announcing $100 million in humanitarian aid for Gaza, which Israel has agreed to allow through the Rafah crossing in Egypt. ABC's Inez de la Cotera is live in Jerusalem.
President Biden arriving in Tel Aviv Wednesday, meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, reaffirming America's support for Israel.
We see that support in your steadfast commitment to provide Israel with the tools we need to defend ourselves.
Israel has launched a blistering series of retaliatory airstrikes into Gaza after Hamas terrorists slaughtered more than 1,400 people. More than 3,500 Palestinians have been killed in those Israeli attacks. The IDF now poised for a potential ground invasion, continuing to urge residents in Gaza to head south for their safety.
We keep praying. We sleep every night, fearing that we will never wake up again.
President Biden acknowledging the suffering of the Palestinian people, saying the vast majority are not Hamas. Biden also announcing $100 million in new U.S. funding for humanitarian assistance for both Gaza and the West Bank, including clean water, food, medical care, and other essential needs. Israel saying they will agree to let that aid into southern Gaza.
If Hamas diverts or steals the assistance, they will have demonstrated once again that they have no concern for the welfare of the Palestinian people. And it will end.
But it's an explosion at Al-Ali Baptist Hospital in Gaza that the Palestinian Health Ministry says killed hundreds, that has outraged the Arab and Muslim world. The president saying he grieves for the victims at the hospital.
Palestinian people are suffering greatly as well. We mourn the loss of innocent Palestinian lives.
Palestinian officials claim it was an Israeli airstrike. The IDF is blaming a misfired rocket from another terrorist group, Islamic Jihad. U.S. officials say, based on analysis of overhead imagery, intercepts, and open source information, Israel was not responsible. News of that explosion sparking protests throughout the broader Middle East region. Security forces using tear gas and a water cannon as clashes erupted near the U.S. Embassy in Beirut, Lebanon.
President Biden had been scheduled to meet with the Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas, the Egyptian president, and the King of Jordan in Jordan. But following that hospital explosion, Abbas canceled the meeting, declaring 3 days of mourning. Inez de la Cuetara, ABC News, Jerusalem.
And of course, stay with ABC 6 News for the latest updates out of Israel and Palestine. We will continue our coverage on air and online. Back here closer to home tonight, a live look over Providence on this Wednesday afternoon. Let's get a check of our forecast with Providence Now Chief Meteorologist Jeff Banson. Where is it raining right now, Jeff?
Tiffany, we have a couple of showers down in South County right now. Really stationary, these cells, and sort of just a blob of rain that hasn't moved a lot. So it's unfortunately been a little bit of a wet afternoon down again in South County. We'll zoom in on that. You can actually see a few more showers to the right of the screen popping up out over the Cape and the islands, parts of Barnstable County getting wet right now. Westerly, boy, very unlucky right now. Really not seeing much shower activity outside of the immediate westerly area. The right portion of that shower, again, it's just a blob of green there, kind of slowly meandering south now, and it is looking like it is raining in Block Island currently. We'll throw on the Doppler sweep to get maybe a fine-tuned view of the rainfall right now. A couple of little bursts of heavier rain over towards Ashaway, Hope Valley area right now along 95, heading into eastern Connecticut, getting over towards Groton and New London as well. Let's take a look at Block Island right now. It does look a little gray and overcast out there. Not showing rain just yet, but it does look like that shower just moved over, so I'd expect that cloud icon become a rain icon over the next 5 minutes or so. 59 degrees. Temperature is also 59 at TF Green right now. A cloudy, cool afternoon out there with highs, within a degree or two of that on either side. 60, 61, maybe as cool as 57, 58. Very, very calm winds right now. A little bit of a sea breeze towards the south. I think maybe that helped and aid in a little bit of sea breeze induced convection that helped those showers pop up. But they will begin to dissipate tonight. We'll see mainly cloudy skies, clearing skies towards morning, and a nice sunny day on the way for tomorrow before we have to start talking about more rain coming in time for the weekend. We'll have that in the 7-day forecast coming up.
Another weekend with rain. Thanks so much, Jeff. Okay, so we have some really exciting news we'd like to pass along to our faithful followers. Tonight, we are rolling out a new app. It features scrollable video news feeds where you can get local news all around the clock from your phone, from anywhere you are. And what really makes this app so cool is that the content is created by us here in our local community. So we're talking hyper-local news by local people. You can download the apps from the Google Play Store for free or the Apple App Store. Just scan the QR code that's on your screen right now, or go to the App Store and type in Now Local News so you can get started. Turning to a focus on our schools at 4 o'clock, Charting Progress. The annual release of RICAS scores comes with some positives, but it still shows there's a whole lot of work to be done. Student test scores in the Ocean State are up now 2 years in a row, but they still fall behind pre-pandemic levels, and Providence schools have a large hill to climb to meet standards. Providence Now anchor Alyssa Azar joins us now live in the studio to break down these results for us. Alyssa?
Well, Tiffany, the Rhode Island Department of Education releasing test results for grades 3 through 11 today, and across the state, less than 20% of economically disadvantaged students are proficient in English language arts and math. The state is working to improve student test scores by 2030. The Department of Education noting that despite schools being fully open the past 2 years since the pandemic, research shows it will take 3 to 5 years to get back to pre-pandemic levels. The test results are broken down into English language arts, mathematics, English language proficiency, and science. So let's take a look at Providence schools. In English language arts for grades 3 through 8, 15% of Providence students are proficient. That's a 2% increase from last year. In math for grades 3 through 8, 13% of students are proficient compared to 9.8% in 2022. If you take a look at how a non-city school district is performing, for example, students in Barrington are performing above 50% proficiency in all grades and topics. Across the state, students in grades 3 through 8 saw only a 2 to 3% increase in ELA and math. But Governor Dan McKee says the state continues to move in the right direction towards improving test scores by 2030. In the newsroom, Alyssa Azara, ABC 6 News.
Thanks so much, Alyssa. Caught on camera at 4 o'clock, a plant poacher is on the loose in East Providence. Residents in the community are complaining of mums and other decorations that are being stolen right off their front porches. It happened all last week. This is Ring video footage. It's from Linda Rogers' home. It shows the moments a car pulls up and then a woman walks toward the door, leans down toward her flowers, sees the lights come on, and then decides to turn around. She walks back to her car without any mums this time. Rogers says this has been an ongoing problem in the neighborhood that she lives in. Other neighbors' flowers have been stolen at night as well.
People just feel they can walk to your front door, look at whatever's there, and take whatever they want and leave.
For now, Rogers has shared this Ring video on social media community pages, hoping that someone will recognize this plant poacher. So far, no police reports have been filed. New at 4 o'clock, one person issued a criminal summons after environmental police found a group of people hiding striped bass in the bushes at Colt State Park. The DEM says someone called in a tip about what was going on there. Environmental police say a person in the park did admit to catching striped bass and then hiding them in the woods, knowing that they were over the legal limit. The seized fish were donated to Amos House. Just ahead on ABC 6 News, first at 4. Getting to the ballots, today is the first day of early voting in the North Kingstown special election. We'll tell you the really important topic that this election centers around. Plus, the battle over a new House Speaker continues on Capitol Hill. How Republicans are trying to move forward and reopen the House. You're watching ABC 6, Southern New England's trusted news source.